Okay. Yeah, that being said, with the motion, I call on the Honorable Prime Minister to start this debate. Here, here.
Hi. Did you call for Uji already? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I did. I did.
I missed
For
it.
Prime
Okay,
Minister.
thanks a lot.
You can speak anytime now, PM. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, thank you so much. Under, under the motion, this House would. Sorry, gotta find myself. Panel, under the motion, this House would allow employees to relinquish benefits in exchange for a higher monthly salary. We truly believe that there should be an understanding that workers should be able to have authority to where their money goes and how their money is being used. Hence, we fully support the motion to allow these employees to relinquish the benefits. So first, I'm going to do some model setup on how our world would look like. So one thing that we need to understand, what are the types of benefits are we talking about? So benefits are we talking about like insurance, medical benefits, um, insurance, medical benefits, utility benefits that are in what the company offers initially in the first place. There's no addition, there's no reduction of any of these benefits. Secondly, how are we doing, what is the model of relinquishing in the side of opening government? So what we need to understand is our model runs on the mechanism that we allow the employees to be able to choose to opt or not to opt towards the same amount of money used for the benefit. So, for example, if company A invests RM100 this month to pay for employees A benefit, that means that month employee A can choose if that salary should be used as his salary or should be paid into their insurance. So the model in this debate gives space and allowance for these employees to use and choose how they want to use their money every single month. So, for example, every single month they are allowed to change their preferences if the money should be saved for insurance or if the money should be saved to their own salaries. So on an individual level, why we are running this? Because we believe that each individual have their own needs and have their own specific preferences, and they are fully entitled to the amount of money, even if it goes supposedly to company benefits, because we believe it is the hard labor that they put in order to receive that money or benefit, that they should have the authority to choose how their money goes, to choose where their money goes. So, and we need to also consider the fact that everybody is different. And because everybody is different, we believe that it is the rights for an employee to know where their money goes. Which boils us down to the next mechanism, which boils us down to the next argument, where we believe that everyone should be able to choose where their money goes, right? So why we believe this is true? Firstly, we need to understand, like let's do like from bottom up, right? So the impact of where this, like at the end of the day in this argument, I'm going to prove to you why is the world better and why is it better principally to allow this for the employees. Because first things first, we need to understand that employees are the person who is working for this. Hence, because you're the persons working for this, they should be able to have authority, right? However, the authority to choose is also very important. And we need to understand as well that at the end of the day, when you allow freedom of choice to your employees to choose their preferences, it at the end of the day improves employee morale. Why do I say so? Because employee morale is very contingent to how much trust the company gives to you. So if your company trusts you to make your own decision, at the end of the day, it increases productivity of that specific employee, of that whole company, because first you have trust, and second, you need to understand that because of this trust is already built, any form in the long run, productivity increase, and because of productivity increase, the company at the end of the day can cut down their costs, which benefits everyone, the company, the employee, the employer, and everybody, and every single stakeholder. So a preemption I have right now is that you might say, oh, but this could be misused, this could be abuse. But we believe that we concede to that, because even if it's abuse, it is the rights of the employee itself to know where their money goes and to choose where their money goes. And I accept you.
Would you allow would you allow people to decide if they should be able to wear seatbelts and not wear seatbelts?
That is not what we're talking about right now, because one important thing that you need to take note in this debate, that this insurance it comes with or without. Or what I'm trying to say is that benefits can be retrieved anywhere else. For example, right, I can be working in a company, but because I believe insurance outside is a better deal and provides me better safety, provides me better benefit, so I opt to use that salary to buy an insurance outside. This is not law. This is not government mandation. This is benefits, and benefits are optional. You can opt to it, you cannot opt to it. So you need it backfires your own POI lah, because you need to understand at the end of the day, when they feel like they find more value in something that they can choose, so they should be able to have the authority to opt for it. It's not like if it's law, right? Like, of course, the government should mandate everybody to wear seatbelts. But if I can choose which brand of seatbelts that I want, I should be able to have the money to be able to choose which seatbelt that I want, which company or which brand of seatbelt that I want. That's the comparative in that in that case. So at the end of the day, if we put it on a side to side, comparatively, on side of opposition, when you don't allow and when you rigidly allow this whole ecosystem to be tingent on what you already have pre-decided, and this will at the end of the day backfire your own company. Why do I say this? Because we need to understand that when you take away freedom for what they hard labor, their own hard labor, it is difficult for you. It's like letting somebody else making decisions for you, and the impact of that negatively would impact your employee, because employees, the whole company, because at the end of the day, why should I work for something that I don't want to choose and I do not want? And that's why we tell you that it should be allowed, and actually companies are already doing this, they are allowed to choose whatever benefits that they want to get. And we believe that that is the best mechanism moving forward, because not everybody wants all different types of benefits. Maybe I don't go to the gym, so why should I be having benefits for the gym? Might as well I take the money and pay for my insurance and get a better seatbelt, right? So at the end of the day, we believe that the impact collectively in the long term, in the name of morale, we should be able to allow people have authority to spend money on what they have relentlessly worked hard on. And for that, I'm proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Prime Minister. Now to open up a clash of opposition, I summon leader of opposition. Here.
Just check my audio visible. Assuming yes, I'll begin to speak. POIs verbally pronounce him. Panel, OG concede to the capacity of risk, and their only response and rebuttal is people should be allowed to choose. I'd like to note this is not principally true in society now. We don't allow people to choose drugs or certain harmful things, even though they want to, because we recognize the capacity of harm to them, and we recognize that certain individuals aren't able to make that decision, which is why we don't allow them to. The burden here on our side is that the thing that we're trying to push forward here is that the capacity of benefit you can get from this salary or this increase in your wage is very marginal, whereas the risk that you have when you like opt out of these things is super large, which is why you should not be able to let individuals make these decisions. A few points of setup. Firstly, I'd like to know that minimum wage still exists, right? So if their side wants to push us in CG or whatever, that like employees are able to do things that they could not have done without this, that is simply untrue. You still have a baseline salary, and salary is likely higher. Basically, you will make this choice at the start of the year. I think it's where OG failed to characterize the debate. You have to make this choice at the start of the year to access the monthly salary benefits. The comparative on our side that is that if you like the comparative here is that even if you don't use all your leaves, you can still claim it at the end of the year in the form of a yearly bonus. I think those things still exist on our side. So we still give employees money for their hard-earned labor or for the fact that they didn't take a leave. Those things are structural reasons, and it's not a contradiction to the case. The other side has to defend the idea that employees make the decision at the start of the year and then cannot like reevaluate the decision because monthly salaries are fixed. And if a company gives you another monthly salary for a decision you made, you can't then ask the company to reevaluate the decision. I think the framing here is crucial, right? The monetary increase likely isn't going to be that much. At best, it might be 10% of your salary, nowhere near 25% or 50% of your salary. So we don't think it's worth the risk. They try to say that the hard labor you put in should justify the idea that you can, access these benefits. This only works for leaves, and I prove that through framing, you can still access the benefits of leaves just at the end of the year if you don't use the leaves. But I'd also like to note that like things like insurance and all those things are just something that the company guarantees you. It is not because you work hard. It's just like something that the company guarantees you. Their principle doesn't stand. I'll give you a few arguments in this debate. Firstly, on coercion. And here, if we prove that coercion happens, then we prove that the capacity of choice for individuals on their side does not exist, and therefore their principal standing does not stand. So why would most employees opt for this? We have 4 reasons. One, humans only evaluate short-term benefits, and they evaluate that primarily, right? They think, oh, if I get an increase in salary, that's something I can feel next month or next day or whatever, and I'm likely to take that decision because I need the money. I want money right now. But secondly, humans are idealistic. They think bad things won't happen to them or emergency won't happen simply because it doesn't happen in the past and it doesn't happen frequently. That is to say, humans only remember the positive experiences in their life and cannot account for the negative things or the capacity of the negative things. The intuition here is you will never imagine a car crash happening to you. That is why some people don't buy insurance, or you never imagine your house going on fire. That is why you don't buy house insurance. When these things do happen, however, as they do, oftentimes people are unprepared and they do not protect those individuals on side opposition. Thirdly, things like insurance, some people just don't like them and think they're bad because of their worldviews or the way they've been raised up. This is oftentimes harmful towards them, so we need to protect them for it. What is the harm of this? I think one, most employees end up picking this even if they would be better off without it. This is particularly important with leaves. You think you won't like take leave, but then a certain event comes out later in the year that you need a leave for, like your dad having an emergency in the hospital, and you aren't able to go see your dad because you can't take leave. But secondly, most employees will regret this. There is an emotional harm. As the year progresses, maybe it comes like September or October, you realize, oh shit, I should have taken a leave right now. Why did I take the decision that causes an emotional harm to the employee? And that is something that our side does not have. Thirdly, we prove employees aren't able to remove this or aren't able to make the decision. We take the debate from here. How do you weigh this in? We think companies and states should legislate in a way that deals with this. This is why we have seatbelt laws. This is why we force motorbike people to wear their helmets. This is why we have a whole bunch of things. Given that, I think what we are supporting on our side does constitute that type of policy, and therefore you should be able to protest. I think OG say a few things. They firstly say that workers should be able to have authority on how their money goes. Again, that authority is often flawed. If that authority is flawed, other people should be able to make the choice. And then they say you can use salary to buy insurance. If you took out your company insurance, which is where you're likely to be hurt the most because some jobs are very hard labor, then you're probably not going to be able to buy the more expensive insurance outside. Before I move on, I'll take a pure eye.
Yeah, let me get this straight. Your analogy of seat belts equals people dying. You are bringing it into a debate, and your only comparison is that people will regret giving up their leave?
No, with seatbelts, sure, the harm is you dying, but that's because the benefits of the seatbelts are high, right? The only benefit on your side is people having a bit more money at the end of the month to save. Given that it's a very small benefit, we don't think people should be risking so much in their life just to access that benefit. We don't think they'll make a rational decision because of that. Okay, second argument. I think you enforce a bad working attitude in employees on their side. The framing here is that there are cases of employees overworking themselves or already bad in status quo. There's also a general push for flexibility, right? Just recently, Samsung employees protested the idea that Samsung is not giving them enough leaves, and that there are complaints to the company that they should be given more leaves. What is the impact if you vote for side government? I think twofold. One, employees are likely to resent their company more and do less quality work, because even though they made that decision, they're likely to change their opinion later on in the year as they get piled up with way more work. They're unable to account for work because work is very circumstantial, and sometimes they might just be in a rough spot in the year. Given that, I think the employees like to resent the company more and do less quality work. Therefore, we take down the argument from opening government on the idea that employees will like their company more. But secondly, I think you also make it harder to protest these things, especially for employees who want more work. Oftentimes, even if you want to protect choice, there are a lot of employees who want more flexible working hours. If you have a bunch of nerdy, try-hard employees that always opt for no leaves, no insurance, it is harder to protest these things because the companies can just say, oh, we give you a choice, and a lot of people are opting for these things and they don't use it still. Obviously, like, your claim to protest these things are bad. So it makes it harder on your side for unions and protest movements to be able to achieve change, especially since these things are becoming more important in society right now. Okay, finally, third argument on how the capacity to account for risk needs to be preserved. The benefits exist because, like, these company benefits exist because we know there are some unforeseen things that we can't account for that do a lot of harm to us. Therefore, a company has an obligation to protect those things and an obligation to make that decision for us, right? So what emergencies do you forced to ignore on-site government? I think one, if you have a family emergency, if your dad is in the hospital and you don't have any more leaves to take, I can't see him now because I don't want to lose out on my salary by taking unpaid leave. Secondly, I can't go out with my family and I can't enjoy well-being things that improve my mental health, right? Given that I am now locked into a culture of I have to work 5 days a week, I have to work hard, I'm unable to take breaks when necessary to ensure that I don't drive into a worse mental state because these things often compound itself. Thirdly, the insurance is perhaps the biggest example for us. Given that you could lose your leg on a job, especially with most jobs being labor intensive, the cost you need to pay to get that leg fixed, to going to the hospital and all those things, just far outweighs the potential benefit you can get from the salary in of itself. I think therefore insurance is something that is principally good that a company needs to provide, given that the company itself puts you at risk. And if you aren't able to spend money on fixing your leg because a company forced you to work in a mine or something, and because you already claimed salary benefits, I think you put employees in unnecessary danger on site government for a marginal risk that I don't think can get them anything at all. They have to prove what they can get with this benefit. I don't think they can. For all those reasons, we already win.
Thank you so much for that, Leader for Opposition. Now to extend the case of opening government, I summon Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
Hello, wait, can you give me a moment? I need to change my network. It's a bit laggy.
Okay.
Testing. Am I audible? Testing. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. Mantap. Right. Good on you. Okay. Right. Let me just structure my speech. Actually, okay juga ni. I will start my speech in 3. Okay, I start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Dear panel, what the opposition is trying to do is rob each and every one of us of our choices and our freedom to choose and our freedom to opt out of places where inefficiencies exist, where there's harms that exist. So firstly, a couple responses towards opening opposition's case. Firstly, regarding the POI, I'm not sure if it's opening opposition, but regarding the POI, note that firstly, you don't make sure each and every one of these persons wear their seatbelts, and not as harshly as you do in the benefits of these companies exist. That is one. Secondly, if you were able to choose a better and cheaper seatbelt, a seatbelt that actually fits your type of body, you would. Okay, so an extension of this will come later on within my arguments. Secondly, note that they did a slight model challenge by saying like our model is like uncharitable. Note that this already exists in the world. And thirdly, they mentioned that people don't really care about insurance. Firstly, do note that these people, if they have like high paying jobs, if they have jobs that actually has like pretty good benefits, where most of the people like most of the stakeholders in this debate do, these people are not that dumb to the point where they don't know what benefit, what they need for insurance. They are aware. At least they are aware of insurance. At least they are aware of the benefits of insurance. So and secondly, advice will still happen on our side of the house, where HR will tell people, okay, you should opt into this. You should opt into the company benefits. And what is generally considered the truth, even in status quo, is that everyone should opt into insurance. It is generally considered the truth. It is like monetary, financial advice to say that you should opt into insurance. So an extension to like my first speaker, she mentioned that everyone has different needs, and so this is true. Like everyone's needs are pretty different, which is like, for example, health needs and like some other needs also. Note that only we cater to those with different needs. We cater to those with different needs because there's people working, especially in corporate jobs, that has the disabilities, that has like to go through not chemotherapy, the physiotherapy every couple of months. These people are not getting any benefit under your side or under their side of the house. What happens is what happens is this company usually aggregates everyone, the needs of everyone, and this cannot really cater to all the people, especially those people with disabilities, especially those people with extra needs, or maybe the heart problems or like cancer or something else. That is regarding the extension. I'll take your PI a bit later. Okay. Next, what do I bring into this debate? Company inefficiencies. Only on our side of the house, we can avoid the company inefficiencies, we can avoid the company bureaucracy. So note that these benefits, the nature of these benefits that is provided by these companies is inefficient. Two reasons. Because first, there's multiple layers of bureaucracy when you are trying to claim those benefits. Firstly, you get to go to HR, you got to go to like your boss, you got to go to your benefit provider, and then lastly and finally the hospital, and then it gets you. What happens on our side is there's less layers where you don't have to go through HR, you don't have to go to your boss. If you opt into your own benefit, you just go to the benefit provider, you get your compensation, and then you go to the hospital, settle. So secondly, the company is not actually incentivized. The company is not incentivized to give the benefits, because note that each dollar that they put to give you the benefit, it is $1 of their loss. And companies are inherently like capitalists, so this means that they're not really incentivized to give you the dollar. Therefore, they're going to make it a slow and tedious process to have some sort of to ensure that there's some deterrence for people that want to actually claim this benefit. So how is this important? 3 reasons. Firstly, consent because consent and opt-out mechanism. So this is relating to what my PM said. And secondly, in our side of the house, where you can opt out of this, you can avoid this like inefficiencies, you can avoid all of these layers of bureaucracy. And secondly, why is this important is it's more time consuming when you go through layers, when you go to so many, it's slow and tedious process. Okay, what is the comparative? I'll take you.
Yeah, insurance is usually provided by a third-party private company. Your company just pays the insurance company to guarantee you that insurance. So why does bureaucracy impact the debate, and why would that be debate winning for you?
Because I'll cover a bit later also. but because when you go through your company, like I said in my speech, it takes more time for you to actually claim your insurance. Therefore, why insurance is important, why efficiency is important is covered later in my speech. So what is the comparative? So you firstly, in our side of the world, you can opt out into anything, any benefit that they would like. Secondly, there's reduced layers. Thirdly, benefits can follow what they want, which what is the best benefit for them, what is the best efficiency for them, and then there's more efficiency, therefore there's more efficiency, and then there's more money at the end of the day. So what is the best case scenario in opposition's world, where all of these layers where you want to claim your benefit is efficient? This is the best case scenario in their world. Note that there's still more layers on their side of the house. Therefore, it is impossible to have like a more efficient benefit system compared to our side of the house. So why is efficiency actually important, and why is this debate unique? Note that in the times of health crisis, which is often which happens from time to time, in the times of health crisis, time is of the essence, where you need to claim your benefit as fast as possible because you don't have any more money to actually invest to put into your will. So because it's often time consuming, this can mean the life and death for that employee. And secondly, because you usually don't have people helping you to claim these benefits, therefore you need the most amount of efficiency to actually help you get through the process. With all of that, I'm very proud to propose.
Thank you so much for that, Deputy Prime Minister. Now I call on Deputy Leader of Opposition to extend the case of LO. Here.
Hi, am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Let me set up my timing. Allowing people to make these kind of decisions is the worst thing you can do for them. The only thing you guarantee is bad decisions affecting their lifestyles worth. When you run a principle of choice, you first have to prove why the principle is important and why you secure it better on your side. OG does none of them. Few clashes in this debate, firstly on the principle of choice and secondly on benefiting workers. So first issue them on principle of choice. I want to preface this that this only matters when individuals can make good and free choices. So why are they likely to make bad decisions? We told you three things. Firstly, individuals are short-termists. This is to say that humans inherently lack self-control because they want gratification right now. We already see this in like examples. This is why children take sweets right now, even though they're promised more sweets later on if they wait. But secondly, we told you they lack the ability to actually predict in the future because you have to make the decisions early on at the start of the year, but you don't actually know what will happen throughout the year if anything bad will happen to you. But lastly, people have an optimism bias, right? They think problems aren't going to happen to them. They think they'll be lucky enough that they won't get into an accident, or they're lucky enough that their mental health will be stable for the rest of the year and they won't feel burnt out. So these are the fundamental human flaws that you only exacerbate on your side of the house. So secondly, then why is it better for us to then enforce these benefits insofar as people cannot make a meaningful decision for themselves? We bring to an intuition palm that got straw man, right? Because the intuition palm was that sometimes we have to step in and enforce certain things if we know it's good for people. So people probably don't like to wear seatbelts, but we know it's good for people to wear seatbelts because it reduces the risk of accidents. So what we do right now when we allow them to relinquish when you don't allow them to relinquish benefits, it's just an extension of a principle that we already accept as okay in status quo. That we realize sometimes people cannot make the best choices for themselves, and therefore we are willing to take the trade-off of slightly reducing autonomy if we can ensure better outcomes for the individuals. It doesn't really matter if people follow the rules like in seatbelts or not. It's the principle that we ought to protect people from themselves because they cannot make good decisions from themselves in terms of this opting into this system, right? So we enforce health insurance to reduce the risk if someone is sick or injured, and we enforce leaves to maintain the mental health of individuals if they're overworked or they're burnt out. So the conclusion of this clash then is that it's important because it shows that in status quo, we already limit the choice of people. Like we don't allow them full 100% autonomy. So this is no different. I don't see the actual increase in harm of like constraining your choices, right? So I think that's already a win for us. But second issue, before I move on to the second issue about how we benefit workers, I'll take a point if there's any. 3, 2, 1, no engagement. So the first thing we hear from OG here is that you benefit workers because now you can take the money and you can spend it for whatever you want, and you know yourselves best, and therefore you can spend it in a good way. I have three responses here. I think firstly, you are likely to already have a salary that is likely to be above or just even minimum wage, right? And this was important in this debate because it meant that since you already have minimum wage or salaries above it, you can already buy or cater to most of your necessities that you need, because you can buy food, you can buy water, and these are all the things that is majorly important to someone's life. So therefore, since those necessities can already be fulfilled, we don't see the need to have extra $100 a month. But secondly, people already have some form of autonomy in the status quo because they can do whatever they want with their current wages. Right? If their employers give them $2,000 a month, they can use the $2,000 for whatever they want. So the increase in autonomy is just diminishing margin of utility. Because if people really do think that outside insurance is better, like if they think that it's better than the company's insurance, then you can buy it with your wages, right? And if you can't afford to buy your own insurance, then you use your company's insurance because you don't have any other option, and therefore there wasn't even a choice to be made in the first place. So I also want to know that if the company's insurance is worth $100, then you will get $100 in cash, like OG says. So that obviously you can only buy insurance worth $100. So there's actually no increase in benefits of the insurance. I think that's already a wash. But lastly, I'm unclear as to why individuals are likely to make good decisions in the first place on what they spend the extra few $100s a month on, right? Because the money you get is probably insignificant. You obviously can't use the money to buy a house, or you can't use the money to pay off your student loans, or you can't use the money to buy a new car because it's only such a small amount. So know that this is the most important, because what this means is that people are likely to spend things on everyday items like alcohol or cigarettes in order to make themselves less stressed, because now they realize they have no more leaves, they have no more like health insurance, they have no more end of year bonuses, right? So they're more stressed because they realize they're in a risky situation and anything bad can happen. So they will just spend on other forms of relaxation and coping mechanisms to solve a problem that we wouldn't even have on our side of the house, to solve the problem of stress you get when you realize you're at a risky position and everything can crumble the moment your luck like changes, right? But secondly, this means that whatever balance you have after you spend it on like things to cope with your stresses, right, it's at worst zero or at best marginal. So that's to say you can't actually spend it on things that you actually want to do. So even if you want to buy your child some milk powder, you probably don't have money to do so because you already exhausted your $100 in the month by purchasing it on like a Netflix subscription or alcohol to make yourself feel better that you're in a shitty position. So their next push here is that, you know what, when you can make the choices, then you actually get more productivity and this benefits the business. I want to note that this is just inherently untrue.
Yeah,
Because firstly, I'm unclear as to why this is the only mechanism to achieve that. I'm going to flip this. I think firstly, when companies actually delegate work to employees, they feel valued and trusted to make choices within the company, and this is how we get more productivity on our side, because it shows that the company trusts you so much to make such a high stakes decision that can influence the company's performance. So if the company really wants to make you more productive, they'll use strategies like job enlargement or job enrichment to achieve productivity. So I don't think it's the only mechanism to achieve productivity. But secondly, before I move on, yes, I'll take a point.
How do people use up their money to the point where they need to use this extra bit of money for our relaxation purposes like alcohol and other things that you mentioned?
I told you the only reason you're likely to have those problems is because you realize that if anything bad happens at work, you're screwed. You have to fork out thousands to pay your medical bills, and this is stress you get when you relinquish all your benefits, right? So secondly, reducing inefficiency doesn't really make sense because the whole reason of a HR department is to like claim your insurance, right? So it's not like it's a new problem that makes the company work slower. I think on your side, you actually make them more inefficient when these are HR workers without any work to do within the company. So what does this lead to bad outcomes? What did we tell you from first? We told you these individuals no longer have safety net. So if they accidentally get into an injury in the workplace, they have to finance it out of pocket. If their child is sick and they have to stay home, but they already traded their leaves, they have to neglect their child and go to work. But even if all this doesn't happen and this guy has the best luck ever, you're constantly stressed because you know you're screwed if anything happens. The impact and weight here. This is more important than ending closing runs because it's a prerequisite to happiness. We proved to you at your first instance you will make poor decisions to opt in and the benefits aren't actually great, so we already win. But secondly, it's an impact on long term and it's irreversible. But you can't just go up to your boss and say, hey, I want my health insurance back, and having to fork out thousands in the future for your medical bills or your therapy when you're burned out is when you're constrained in the future to express your future autonomy, because in the future you don't have money to actually express your autonomy because you already used it up all in your bills and your finances. So for all those reasons,
Thank you so much for that, DLO. Now to extend the closing half of the debate, I summon member of government. Here.
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, wait. Oh yeah, need time. Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think opening opposition does not know how life works in the real world. I'm gonna do a few things in CG. One, I'm gonna deal with their, claims of harm and coercion. Secondly, I'll flip their entire analysis and tell you how it looks like in the real world, why people aren't idiots. All my extensions will be integrated. So please pay attention. Number one, let's talk about them saying the harm is very big, but the benefits aren't a lot. A few pieces of framing we will say from closing graph. One, each dollar is very important when you're not earning a lot. So $100 might not seem like a lot to you, but for a person earning minimum wage, it is a lot of money. This is why traditionally we have progressive taxes, because $100 to a poor person is not the same as $100 to a rich person. That's why we subsidize bare necessities like eggs, chicken, petrol, etc. Because these things are extremely price sensitive. Poor people will literally walk like 1 mile to the next supermarket if eggs are like go up by 20 cents. So it's not correct to say, oh, it's not a lot of money. Secondly, if we want to characterize this debate in the way that we just did, this means people often have a scarcity mindset and every dollar counts. Not yet time, I think. So this means poor people, funnily enough, are better with money than rich people. Thirdly, let's talk about the magic of compounding, because $100 is not a lot, but $100 per month with an average return of 10%, which by the way is the average of the S&P 500, will yield $200,000 after 30 years. Fourthly, people are generally more attuned to cost when they are poor or come from a low-income family, right? Studies have shown people are more likely to pick up the word money, or whenever you introduce something to them, they're going to ask, what's the price? What does this cost? Rich people don't do that. So it is a lot of money for these people. B, but let's talk about the comparative, because I don't think they even prove why it's better under their side. They say a bunch of things. They say the word regret, like, oh, I regret giving up my leave. That's not a concrete harm, guys. We wear seatbelts because you get into an accident and you might die. Like, you don't, like, the comparative of not buying health insurance doesn't mean you'll die. It's not a good comparative in this debate. Thirdly, no thank you. Let's talk about raising the standard of living, because they say, oh, you never tell us what $100 a month can do. We're going to give you 5 reasons in CG. 1, people who are poor often are in a lot of debt. It can be high interest like credit card debt. It can be student debt. It could be debt, there's a high APR. People can choose to pay down this debt aggressively. This looks like the snowball method if you know anything about personal finance. Maybe they're just safe investors. Poor people are traditionally safe investors. No, thank you. They can choose to pay down these things which have huge opportunity cost down the road as the interest rate compound as well. 2, we think we can choose what is important to them. And this is like goes above OG's government of choice, because we can look at things like upskilling. We can look at things like starting a business, starting a side hustle. Maybe, I just want to date and spend it on girls. That's fine. Right? People who are minorities can send money home to their family. You can spend it on your children to get them a birthday cake. All of these are very important for people in this bracket. Thirdly, we think cash flow is much more important than a yearly bonus. And this way, you need to look at the motion and the inflow slide, if there's one, I can't remember. We think with a higher cash flow, you can get loans and you're less likely to buy dumb things, psychologically speaking. Why is this true? And let's flip the OO claim on this. They say, if I only get $100 a month, I'm gonna waste it on cigarettes. Bro, what do you think happens when people get a bonus like, which is like 2 months, like 6 months, whatever, right? People are more likely to spend on dumb shit and buy iPhones and try and keep up with people, and buy material possessions when they have a huge chunk of money. Because poor people don't grow with a lot of money. At the point in which you give them a large bonus, statistically speaking, these people are likely to waste it. What is the benefit of cash flow? You can get a loan to get a car, a bike, etc. But you're also less likely to spend it irrationally. No, thank you. Fourthly, when you jump companies, they give you an increment of your base salary. This means your monthly salary of 2,000 or 3,000, you get an increment 23%, and this is based on the monthly salary. This isn't based on your year-end bonus. If you look at most compensation packages, you will know that this is how it's done in the real world. So people with a higher base salary monthly are able to jump hop to bigger companies and get more salary at the end of the day. Lastly, we think they can save up quicker to purchase a home or a car. Like if people don't want a pension and are willing want to buy a bike or a car because it's more important to them to get to work quicker, to pick up their kids from school, we think they should be allowed to do that. No, thank you. Let's talk about coercion and how they say humans only evaluate short-term benefits. Number one, we'll reject this characterization from all, right? The fact that people plan for pensions, the fact that people plan for children and plan for, taking loans and buying property, which is like 35 years loan. But I mean, historically, it's also true that like even ancient humans with no sense of morality or any semblance of human organization also stockpiled nuts for the winter. This shows the human mindset has a capability to think for the future. But even if you don't buy that, I just told you why it's fine for people to prioritize what they think is important to me. B, they say that bad things don't happen to them and people only remember positive things. Number one, let's point out this is statistically true. 99% of insurance claims never pay out. So I don't get why 100% of people need to buy just because 1% of people might suffer it. People are allowed to smoke and drink alcohol and weigh all these benefits to them anyway. I'm not sure why like OO is so exclusive in saying, oh, just because I have less leave or I don't have a year-end bonus is equivalent to this. I'll take whoever the last person was.
Can you risk the 1% probability of you as a poor person getting into a car crash and needing to spend thousands of dollars on insurance? I mean medical care?
Yes, beautiful. Let's talk about extension. Let's flip OO's analysis and provide some crucial analysis in the debate. If you have year-end bonuses and leave and all of these benefits to encash in the first place, it is likely that people are working white-collar jobs. This means they have some form of education and they're surrounded by like-minded people. This is not debate. It's not about illegal immigrant workers in the country because construction workers don't offer benefits in the first place to trade off. What is the truth in this debate? We're gonna say 4 things. Number one, people are already likely to save some things for themselves. No, thank you. If they don't need like 14 days or for example, I have 28 days of leave, I can't finish 28 guys. I'm gonna sacrifice some. So we also would like to invite you to consider the possibility that they don't sacrifice all of their leave, maybe just the extra ones like OG says. B, let's say that people are not stupid and they buy their own insurance, and this is like the biggest point of op. Like the comparative is not insurance versus no insurance. The comparative is my insurance versus company insurance, and there are a few reasons why I'm likely to buy my own insurance. One, we think people are scared of death, leaving their loved ones riddled with debt when they die. Contrary to what OO says about people remembering the good things, we think people are irrationally scared of death. Maybe it's things of religion because you don't know what's at the end of the tunnel. People are scared of these things and therefore plan for it. B, insurance is tied to your company. Many people know, especially fresh graduates, that you will not stay at the same company for the rest of your life. That means that when you change company, you need to purchase a new insurance. This means people generally buy insurance on their own. No, even if they don't, most countries have somewhat of a good and affordable healthcare system, right? Like in Malaysia, it costs 1 ringgit to see a government dentist. Fourthly, insurance is also cheaper to buy when you're young because the premiums increase by age band. So all of this shows that people are already likely to buy insurance on their own and not under the workplace way over time. Lastly, let's talk about the most important mechanism in this debate is that people can switch back. If you feel like you're being overworked, you can just switch back the benefits. You can just opt out anytime, right? Like it's not true that the company will overwork you. On overworking, I want to say 2 things. One, that there's European countries have implemented a right to disconnect. 4-day work weeks are now being discussed. There's a lay flat culture in China. All of this which goes to show people aren't overworked and they should be allowed to choose how to protect themselves and how best to customize their compensation package. Very proud to propose.
Thank you so much for that, member of government. Now to open up the closing half of opposition is our member of opposition. Here.
Hi, I am the member of opposition. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, today the government side has presented a motion that completely neglects the 1% probability risk that insurance exists to begin with, right? They neglect the fact that people are going to that the main point of insurance is for the edge case. It's for the small probability that you do get into an accident. Now, I would like to recharacterize this whole debate as currently both sides of the debate have been arguing over benefits that benefit the rich people. When the main stakeholders here are low-income workers, blue-collar workers that work in high-risk jobs like mining or construction, right? These low-paying workers, they're the one who gets who get the most benefits out of this debate, right? They're the main stakeholder of this debate, and I would like to characterize that the main people who care about this debate are those workers, because people who have high income jobs to begin with, right? They already have enough money, they have enough disposable income to do whatever they want. So low income workers, they're the main stakeholders of this debate, and I would like to tell you why that they are affected most by this motion, right? So first, I would like to rebut the Deputy Prime Minister, right? Your point about how they buy the wrong insurance is completely invalidated, because each job has their own specific insurance that they buy for their workers, right? If you work in a coal mine job, they're not gonna buy you insurance for car crashes because you're mining coal. You're gonna get health insurance for your lungs, for your mental health, in case there's a landslide accident, right? You're going to get insurance for that as opposed to getting like car insurance, right? That's a very important thing. You get job specific insurance, which invalidates their point. Furthermore, the governments are the one who subsidize those with disabilities. The government pays the firms to hire these people, and they subsidize these firms for hiring these people. So it's completely irrelevant how people with disabilities are neglected in this scenario. Furthermore, I would like to rebut MG in this, as none of this matters if you're going to okay, you argue that you get benefits, right? And this money, you get compound interest, and you get to pay off your interest, right? And you can eventually snowball into building a firm, right? That doesn't matter if you're gonna be riddled with debt in case you get into an accident, right? Like in case you get into an accident, if you forego your insurance, right, what you get is that you get a situation where you have to pay off loans for the rest of your life. So what's the point in paying off the student loan debt if you're going to have to pay off health insurance debt if you don't have this insurance, right? I mean, if you're going to have to pay off your health debt if you don't have health insurance, right? And furthermore, it's a self-contradiction regarding your people. Not now. Rich people. You say that rich people get more benefits from their insurance, as they're the one who gets like 20 something percent of their own salary. That's what you said, right? But that also contradicts with your point about poor people being the main stakeholders of this debate, right? So you're contradicting yourself with this. Now, I would like to argue for the main stakeholders of this debate that is untalked about so far, which is the company, right? This is having opposing this benefits the companies, as people are going to have less burnout regarding their jobs, which is addressed by OO, right? Having less burnout means that you're going to be more efficient at your job. You're going to produce more for the company, right? And also, if the workers are alive and well, thanks to the health insurance, they're going to be more productive because dead workers cannot work, right? This is a major thing, right? Furthermore, I would like to argue that poor people, right? Poor people are less likely to be rational actors compared to those like people in low income areas are going to be less likely to be rational, considering the fact that they're fighting life or death, right? If $100 is going to feed you for the rest of the week, then you're going to take that $100, which means that being a rational actor is not a situation that can be considered. This being said, right, they're not going to spend the money on buying your own life insurance. That's a rich people benefit. Rich people have this benefit of being able to buy their own life insurance or whatever that MG has stated. No, they're going to have to spend this on essentials, or maybe even paying for their children's further education, right, in order to get out of poverty, which means that they have this gambler's fallacy in mind, which leads to them taking this risk instead of foregoing it for the sake of perceived long-term benefits, when one car accident is going to send them into the OR, into the ER, and is going to put them in debt forever, right? This is a major issue that is not addressed in this debate, as poor people with low income, they're the ones that are the main stakeholders of this debate, and they're the ones that are going to be irrational regarding the situation. If you allow them to do this, it's basically allowing them to do drugs, right? Like the comparison is that drugs, right? Short-term benefits, long-term benefits. Short-term, right? On the short term, you get a high. On the long term, you get health issues. On the short term, for the poor people, they get a pay raise, which means that they can afford their essentials. They can live a little bit more luxurious for the time being. But in the long term, the second they get into an accident, they're going to be riddled in debt forever, and they're going to put the rest of their family into debt forever, right? Furthermore, I would like to argue for trade unions, right? Like a stakeholder that has mostly been neglected in this debate, right? If you as a worker trade away your benefits, the trade union can't fight for your benefits back because you're the one who's willingly trading them away. You're the one who's willingly like giving away your benefits, which means that trade unions can't even fight for you, right? Trade unions can fight for your wages, right? That's an issue, right? But you can't fight for the workers to have more benefits if the workers are the ones that are trading themselves away, right? So basically, right, it's less rights for workers overall in the society, because in this illusion of with this illusion of choice, you're basically saying that, oh, I'm going to trade away my own rights for a slight pay raise, when a trade union could do that anyway, but they can't do it anymore because you're trading away your own rights to be a worker, right? Now, and this further perpetuates the corporatist dystopia that the world's heading to, where the real income of employees are slowly diminishing over time, right? If there are any POIs, I'd like to take them now.
I gave you an extension, like 5 reasons why people are still likely to buy their own insurance. Your case only materializes if people, don't have insurance and get into an accident, which is very statistically improbable.
Insurance is a rich man's benefit, right? If you're poor, you're not going to go and buy insurance. You're going to buy things that will keep you living for another day, right? If you're in that situation to begin with, you're not going to have enough money to worry about insurance when you're worrying about like if you can eat or not, right? That's a very important point, right? Like if you can't eat, then why would you worry about insurance? That's not an issue. But if the company buys it for you, right? Then that's another thing, right? Companies get economies of scale. If they buy insurance in bulk, which means that the overall cost of insurance would be lower for each individual person. That's the benefit of economies of scale. You get a lower average cost, which means that as a whole, right? If you want to buy insurance, it would cost more for you to buy individually, as if your firm would buy for you. So the money you get back from the reimbursement of trading away your benefits would be lessened overall. So you can buy your own insurance, because again, that is a rich man's luxury. This is why closing opposition should win this debate. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, member of opposition. Now to close the debate from government, I summon government whip. Here.
Alright, hold on, just give me a moment to set up my timer. Yeah. Okay, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Alright. Starting my speech in also POIs in chat, please. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, 3 things in this speech. First of all, I'll be dealing with all the claims by every single side of the benches. I'll be reaffirming CG's stance and why we take this debate, and finally how CG successfully mitigates the harms presented against us and how these harms happen worse on side off, right? Let's take a look at what OO tells you. So OO tells you 3 things. They say the capacity of harm is larger the moment you remove the safety net of comfortability for the employees. Second, it culminates into a worse employee and company relationship as they'll ultimately grow to detest this decision. And finally, it leads to larger harms as they won't be granted this leave the moment they have an emergency, the moment they require those benefits, right? Let's take a look at these one by one. First, notice these claims are contingent on the fact that there is a guarantee that something bad is going to happen down the line to these individuals, right? We tell you it makes no inherent sense because the likelihood of an emergency happening to you, like your house catching on fire, is relatively low. It won't require large amounts of leave days to mediate, but let's bite the bullet and assume that this is something that's going to happen. No, thank you. I think if we're arguing in the context of a rational employee who's already made that conscious decision and tells their company, I'm willing to trade these benefits off for the monetary benefit, these employees most likely have it arranged in their compensation agreements that the moment an emergency does occur, the company is going to provide leeway for them to attend to this matter, right? Ultimately, in status quo, these companies are going to be charitable anyway. It's unfair for OO to claim that these companies are automatically evil. If anything, companies would be more incentivized to care about their employees and their employees' well-being, and thus this claim of no access towards dire circumstances is successfully taken down. Let's take a look at the second claim, right? Employees will inevitably grow resentment. We think this ties back to the principle of choice because notice how nobody is coercing these individuals to go through this decision. It relies on the personal preference of the employee. If an employee ultimately has done the weighing in their head and has done the personal discerning that I want to improve my own personal standard of living, I've decided that the monetary benefits are going to help me in the long run as compared to something that was imposed onto me, that I am not mechanizing to its fullest purpose. It makes no sense why OO want to bar these people from accessing something they know is going to improve their lives, right? Panel, this is the inherent problem that exists with OO's case, is they don't want to acknowledge that humans are variable. Humans don't operate according to a linear line where an emergency is guaranteed to happen, where everybody wants to fulfill their leave days in the exact same manner. It is unfair to impose stagnant operatives onto unlinear individuals who want to make the decision for themselves because they know it's going to help them. No, thank you. Let's take a look at what CO tells you. CO takes an interesting route where they tell you these people are going to make harmful decisions and purchases. You allow them to do drugs and like fall into debt. Again, panel, CO operates on this premise that people are inherently stupid and people are inherently impulsive. Clarification.
No, thank you. We tell you already, most likely these workers are going to ruminate about the decision before they take that leap, right? If anything, this harm happens worse on site CO because when you allow these people to access the money in the form of like these end of year bonuses, right?
The impulsivity happens worse because these individuals are now given like a lump sum without any checks and balances as compared to when it's given based on a recurring basis, right? Finally, let's talk about why CG takes this debate over OG. OG essentially tells you two things. One, on the principle of autonomy. Second, the efficiency happens better when it's self-managed. While this is true, the extension coming from CG marginally impacts these employees on a larger scale. Why is this? One, we tell you already the larger monetary benefits allow these employees to improve their already shaky standard of living. Second, the accessibility happens better on site CG as people are inherently going to plan for the future. They're going to plan for the improvements of their livelihoods. Thus, the money accumulated during this period where they retrieve all of this money, the subsidiary benefits are only able to materialize on site CG. Why do we do the self-management extension better than OG then? It's because Ryan already points out that these like personalized individuals know what they need in order to continue living, right? They know what they need to personally propel themselves into larger success. That's why the moment you put this decision in the hands of the individual, they know what works for them. They know what to mechanize in order to help themselves. Notice how both op benches did not provide a guaranteeing factor that by having this standardized like process ultimately benefits the large amounts of employees who have already actively voiced out that the current systems aren't working in their favor, right? Notice how only inside CG you protect these stakeholders who have like these separate uncorresponding incentives. If someone ultimately decides they don't want to they'd rather have their company like manage all of these benefits for them, then go ahead. Nobody is stopping that. Notice how ultimately the harms being pushed by OO are easily OO and to an extent CO as well are easily mitigated because they see people are now going to be overworked, people are going to like succumb to a horrible work-life balance. We already tell you that these employees can opt out the moment they think this decision is no longer benefiting them. But even if we argue, we bite the bullet and we argue in the worst, you as an employee can never escape from this decision that you previously made. There always exists that opportunity for them to leave and go somewhere else where they know they're going to be treated well by their employer. For all those reasons, stand with ICG. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Government Whip. Now to end the clash from opposition in the debate, I summon Opposition Whip. Here.
Am I visible and audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, up with my pronouns are they, them. I take POIs verbally, but I'll also be asking for POIs. I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judge, two main clashes in this debate. I'm just gonna get straight to them. First of all, whether the marginal benefit of sacrificing all these benefits, insurance, paid leave, whatever, is worth it, right? Second of all, is the clash of autonomy. And third and finally, I'll be talking about why we differ from CO and why ultimately we win all over the other three houses of this debate. For these reasons, CO. But third of all, onto the first most important clash of this debate, is the marginal benefit worth it? So what does closing government tell us in this debate, right? They tell us that, oh, the 1% chance of you getting into the accident is so marginal, you'd rather just be using this to like buy essential things, right? And they're the only houses that have somewhat characterized the debate correctly, but this has been corrected by a member of opposition. There's also a huge contradiction in CG, I'll be getting to that later, but we tell you that the 1% chance that you fucking die from a car crash is actually insane, because even if it is like something that even if you say like, okay, the 1% chance that you die is like very marginal, right? We tell you that people that work in like blue collar jobs, which my member has correctly characterized in this debate, that we can't believe has not been picked up by any member of opposition in this debate, that these people that need this motion in the first place are literally blue collar workers. They're literally risking their lives. We tell you that this looks like construction workers. These look like people that like work in factories. These look like people that work in mines. So actually the chance of a normal person, well, I don't want to use that word normal person, but like an average middle class person getting hit by a car and dying is literally it's 1%. Yeah, let's take it at that. Let's be charitable. But you're a poor person. You're working in the mines or factories or whatever, right? You are literally going to be at extreme risk every day, but you literally do not have a choice, right? We tell you that this is the characterization that CG is missing. But yes, they also admit that it's because of poor people, but we don't really see this contradiction happening, right? Also, even if taking them at their best case scenario, that, okay, you only have this 1% chance of getting hit by a car or whatever tragic accidents that happens to you, we tell you that insurance is very important, right? Basically, if you go to a hospital, you will need insurance, or else the bills are going to be very, very expensive, especially in places like America. And America has a lot of poor people, a lot of people that live in rural neighborhoods that desperately need this help, that these are the people that the motion is made for, by the way, that insurance is very important for these people, and especially in places like, for example, the UK or even Hong Kong, where we're from, we tell you that insurance is very important because even the simple doctor's visit can charge you up to like $700, and it is very expensive. A worker on minimum wage is not going to be able to pay this off, right? So we tell you that even for day-to-day accidents, this is very, very important. Unless CG wants to tell us that the likelihood of a poor person getting sick is marginal, we tell you that that is a huge chance of getting sick. I mean, even rich people get sick a lot, even students get sick a lot. We tell you that this is definitely going to happen, right? But second of all, even if this doesn't happen, let's be extra charitable towards CG and say that, yeah, people aren't gonna get sick, right? We tell you that in this motion, on their side of the case, people are not going to get paid leave because they're going to be exchanging it all for, what do you call it? Oh, right, extra pensions and extra benefits, extra money, tangible money at the end of the day. We tell you that burnout exists, right? Especially when you're working these blue-collar jobs, not white-collar jobs like CG tells you. These blue-collar jobs at the end of the day, you keep on working the same thing over and over again. The satisfaction is very low, especially because the division of labor makes it so. It is very monotone. You basically do the same thing every single day. Burnout exists, and when burnout exists, as my member said, this is very bad for the company. The workers are going to work extremely slowly, or maybe even not extremely slowly. It's not at the maximum efficiency that they could have had. This is bad for the company, and it's bad for the worker, because when the company finds out, oh, this worker used to work at a level of, like, let's say, like 60% efficiency, but now they're at like a 50 or 40% efficiency. Oh, but we're just going to replace them with a machine. We tell you that that's even worse for the worker because they get fired, and this is very realistic because of everything we've just explained. But also we noticed that CG has mentioned that companies can opt out, they say. Well, we agree with OO's model is that when they stick to it for the rest of the year, they basically can't opt out. But let's be charitable and say, oh, they can opt out for the next month. We tell you that this is still going to create insane resentment for the company, right? Because humans are somewhat rational when they get into, but when they get into accidents, they are not rational, right? When something bad happens, like, okay, when you get into like an accident or when you're sick and you realize, hey, it's because of the company, because I took the choice that the company gave me, that we should exchange more work hours for more money. Not now. We should exchange more work hours for more money. What is the person going to do? They're not going to say, oh, damn it, I think I should have been a more rational actor, and I think maybe I should have paid better attention to my mental health. No, they're going to blame the company for this. But before I move on to my second clash, I'll take your POI.
Let me be clear on your weighing. So CEO's case is contingent on one person dying and being stupid enough not to buy insurance versus every worker on the outside having more money.
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me, right? I forgot to mention that on your side, you also characterize people that are poor as they're also willing to buy insurance. But no, did you listen to my member speech at all? Because he literally said economies of scale exist, right? Like when a company bulk buys insurance, they're gonna get it a lot cheaper versus the one individual buying it, right? And we tell you that companies are profit oriented. You're definitely gonna scam the hell out of poor people precisely because they have no knowledge of insurance whatsoever. We tell you that people will not buy their own insurance. First of all, insurance is very expensive, even if it's not a company buying it, right? But second of all, economies of scale exist. If the company pays you like $100 outside insurance, it's gonna be like $200. We tell you that a rational poor person or even an irrational poor person would never go to buy this. And you also using your case using your side of the case when poor people are literally living paycheck to paycheck, do you really think they'll still sacrifice their money for insurance when on your side, CG is literally the house that promotes the most values of like poor people needing to live paycheck to paycheck? Because we certainly don't think so, right? Now onto the second clash of autonomy from opening government, right? We tell you that autonomy is already taken away in status quo, and we completely agree with this. We completely agree with what O said about some things like seatbelts and drugs, like my member talked about, right? Oh, speaking of drugs, we know that CG basically pinned the blame on us, saying that we said poor people would go ahead and do drugs if they had the extra money. That was a metaphor for bad choices being made. We do not think that poor people are gonna go ahead and do that. We think that this is completely out of this debate, right? But even so, freedom of choice should exist for a person until it affects you negatively. If freedom of choice is thing, then people should just be able to like kill themselves or be able to cut themselves, right? Because freedom of choice. But no, as a society, we do not allow that because self-harm and suicide is something that negatively impacts you, which is why we don't do that, right? But onto a very quick extension of why we differ from O has mischaracterized this debate as and they don't fully give you the full picture of what poor people look like, right? We tell you that the case and what my member has said, these are poor people, these are blue collar workers that literally live paycheck to paycheck, right? They also give you a bad example of a seatbelt. We tell you what this actually looks like is when you trade in for a poor seatbelt that when you drive a car, it breaks and it hits you in the face and you need to go to the hospital because now you need to get stitches. That's what it looks like. For these reasons, closing opposition.
Thank you so much for that, opposition whip. Thank you so much, everyone. You may now cross the house, and please feel free to go to the main room so we can decide, since it's a silent room. Silent round, sorry. It's a silent round. You're not submitting anything, and you'll know you're standing the decision after the break announcements. Thank you.